All right, shalom. Shalom to Julie, Chris and Vernie Wong, Troy, Mentat Assassin, Betty, Vicky, Gabrielle, and Elizabeth. If I didn't say hi to you, then you're not in the chat. Please log in, and then we can see you in the chat. All right? If you're coming in late and you want to be live with us, please just click the scroller bar on the bottom and drag it all the way to the right, and you'll catch up. All right. Hey, shalom, Pastor Bruce and Tet. All right. Avinu Kinhiratzon. תמלא את פי הלילה הזאת, כי אני יכול לדבר רק כי אתה רוצה. תעזר נא את כל תלמודי, תשלח נא את רוחך עלינו, כי אנחנו רוצים רק ללמוד טוב בעיניך. לא לנו ולך יהיה כל הכבוד. בכל הדברים האלה אנחנו נברכך בזכות הישוע. All right. So, I dedicate this shiur to the healing of Kiri ben Yirmiyahu. All right. So make sure if you like what I've been teaching, hey, Shalom Yvonne and Betty, if you enjoy these lessons and you like being in the Hebrew, then please make sure to check out my friend Dr. Dwayne's studies at matsadi.com, or you can check him out on youtube.com/@Dr. Dwayne D. Miller. He's got a great study on Isaiah that's in the original, working through the whole book, and I think you guys will like that. And he also gets into stuff like from the rabbis and connects it to the Torah and also to the apostolic writings. Looks at the Targumim, very interesting. Also, if you're into Genesis and you like to go deeper into Genesis, you can check out my other channel that's on YouTube. It's at Torah-PH, this one here, right? That's not where you are now. Right now, you're at Hebrew Literacy, right? That one. But Torah.ph, let's see if we can do this. Oh, my hand's not long enough. Anyway, that one's got most of Genesis on there, broken up into 3-part lessons, sometimes 7-part lessons, but usually 3 or 4 little bite-sized chunks, 20 to 30 minutes, and lots of info over there. And we're usually in the Hebrew text, although not always. Sometimes I give people a break, and we're also talking about other stuff too, like the sages and all this kind of stuff, and also the apostolic writings. Right? So I think you guys might get a kick. I'm thinking about merging them, bringing that channel over here. I don't know. We'll see. Hey, shalom, Stephen and Brenda. Glad you guys made it. Okay, so Ted says it's buffering by her. YouTube Studio is telling me excellent connection, so I think it might just be you, Ted. Yeah, sorry. Well, I'm glad. But not glad that it's slow for you. Just glad that it's not me. I even had a couple hiccups tonight again. Microphone wasn't working. But Baruch Hashem, we got through it quickly. Maybe there was already enough suffering for the day. We didn't need to do anything extra. All right, so let's get. Shalom. All right, we got it there. Sorry, I just realized the other scene. Shalom. There we go. Let's check them all. Shalom. 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 Reserve. Okay, good. We're good. Good to go. Yeah, yeah. I see your what no sounds now. I actually caught it before the reports. Sorry about that. I know, right? I just mentioned sound and then yeah. We'll show him sound. Dirk. All right, all right. So let's go and get started. Let me make it a bit bigger. So you can see Yithro is leaving with his family, although we learn later that his son, Hobab, stayed behind, who is also Moses's other father-in-law. His third father-in-law is Hobab, who is the son of Yithro. Okay? We don't know who his other father-in-law is. We know Yithro, we know Chobab, but we don't know who the father of the Cushi, the Ethiopian wife is. But we know two. So it's kind of interesting. So Chobab remains. We'll read about him in Numbers that he's still there. Okay, so here we are. Is that big enough, guys? Verse 27 there? Yes, I'm back. Hallelujah. Hey, good turnout. Thanks, guys. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read it. Oh, let me remove my dock so I can see better. Dink, dink. Since everything's working. Ah, much bigger. Now I can see it on my screen. Couldn't see it on my own screen. All right, verse 27. By the way, this is exciting. We're almost halfway through Exodus. Can you believe it? Almost halfway through. Maybe be thinking about what book you'd like to do next. We could do Genesis if you want. There's a graphic novel for that. Or we could do Joshua or Ruth or Jonah. Just kind of think what you'd like to do. Okay, verse 27. Vayishlach Moshe et choteno vayelech lo el arzo. Okay. Genesis, yeah, maybe Genesis. Ivan says yes. So shalach means to send, not to shalach somebody. Man, he really shalached him. So shalach is to send, and when that middle letter from the verb has a strong dagesh in there, that's that dot. If there's a vowel in front of it and there's a dot, that means there's a strong one. That guy doubles and makes the word more intense. So shalach without the dot is to send, and with the dot is to send out, right? Or to expel, or to banish, or to divorce, depending on context. Okay. So Yishlach, the Yod tells us he is sending out, or he will send out. I want to slow down. One of my elders gave me a good tip that I'm speaking too quickly a lot. So allow me to remind me, please. If it's too fast, let me know. I'll try to remind myself too. In the past, when I would talk to our kahal, we had a signal worked out. Everybody could just go like this to me. I'm a naturally very quick speaker, and apparently it doesn't matter what language. I remember, I remember, I remember. Okay. Story time, real quick. I remember I used to work at IBM in Switzerland, and I was the only American software architect there, right? Like programmer there. And I had this friend who was an Indian guy from Austria, born and raised in Austria, right? So he's Austrian, right? And anyway, so shout out to Manul if you're out there somewhere. And anyway, after one of the team meetings one time, I was kind of presenting my idea. All the workers were Germans, right? Except for, one Swiss guy and me, right? In Switzerland, go figure. Anyway, so I presented my idea, and afterwards, when we go to the gym, I used to go to the gym every day with my friend Manul, and he told me, Jeremiah, you have to speak much slower. The German mind cannot comprehend when you speak so quickly. By the way, it was in German. He was complaining about my German. I talk too fast. So it's something inside of me that just wants to get the information out as quickly as possible. So please tell me to slow down. We're in chapter 19. 19. Yep, Julie. So just don't be embarrassed if you think it's too fast. It probably is. And I'll be happy to slow down. Just slow it down a little bit or you must go out. Okay. Vayishlach Moshe. Then Moshe, the Vav, changes the time. He sent, makes it like past time. Et choteno. Choten means father-in-law, and O means his. So father-in-law of him, his father-in-law. Vayelech. This one's hard to recognize. This one's a hard one. This one is the verb halach. And the initial hey is gone. Okay? So the root, we're missing the first letter from the root. It's hey, lamed, kaf, halach, which was one of our words of the day, to walk, or some say to walk, right? This one, so the Yod tells us he will do the thing, or he is doing it, right? Yelech, he is walking, or he will walk. Yeah, the cursive programming. And the Vav changes the time. Vayelech. And he walked, right? So now we're in the perfect, which is like past. Lo, for himself. El, unto arzo, his land. So I'm wondering if the picture is incorrect. This can mean by himself, right? But he probably had servants and stuff, so I guess it's correct. Okay. There they're waving, bye, bye. I never understood why Yithro didn't want to stay. Like, why didn't he want to stay? To see, the fire. He sees the fire coming down from heaven, all these amazing things. His whole life he's been seeking after the one true God, right? And now he knows. The only thing I can think of is he wants to go home to evangelize, right? Now he's going to go tell everybody about Hashem. So, no problem, Brenda. Hey, shalom, Enrique. All right. So let's see. So he went for himself, el unto arzo. So this word is eretz, like the song Eretz, 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 Eretz Israel. One of these very old patriotic Israeli songs. So Eretz means land, and the O means his. So the land of him. Any comments or questions? I'm gonna get a drink of water super quick, and then we'll go to the next verse. I'm aware of the speed problem, slowing it down. All right. By the way, if you're new and you're not used to what we do here, this is immersion, right? So it's okay that you don't understand most of the stuff we're saying, all right? The point is you jump in, it's like jumping into the swimming pool to learn how to swim, okay? And some things I'll explain, some things I won't. And we're just going to wrestle with the text together this way. It's a more natural way of learning a language than just forcing yourself to learn all of the grammar initially. And I think it's kind of tested over time with some of my students. I've tested doing this to various degrees. Like we used to do the Aliyah Yomi and that kind of stuff. I think it really helps to actually be out in the wild rather than just in a sterile environment with the grammar actually in the text. All right. All right. Okay. So this text that we're using is Illustrated Exodus in Hebrew. Okay. By Glossa House. That's the publisher. I recommend you support the publisher and get it. You can either get it from glosshouse.com if you like what we're doing, or you can get it from Amazon. And I'm sure there's other booksellers that have it as well. All right, so here we have a big picture. There's the camp and there's the mountain. Okay. Okay. Enrique says it's great. You use a glass bottle, lots of estrogen in plastic. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that there's like weird stuff that you sometimes swallow from plastic. So yeah, I try not to. Thanks for that. All right. So here we are, chapter 19, verse 1. And I had actually made the mistake. I reread the last verse from chapter 18. So, oh well. So here we are in verse 1. Bachodesh ha-shalishi letzeit b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. Okay, let's stop there. Ba means in the. In the. Chodesh means month. So in the month, which month? Ha-shalishi, the third. Let's say it. This is a bit more difficult. This verb is the verb yatsa, yod, tzadi, aleph, which means to go out. All right. But verbs where the first letter is a yod, oftentimes that yod disappears and you're only left with the two other letters. So oftentimes we're playing language detectives. We're trying to kind of reconstruct what happened, right? Like it's a crime scene. What happened here? Where's the yod? Ah, it had a yod. And then, because you might look at this and think, okay, what verb is tzadi, aleph, tet? You don't want that verb, trust me. So yod, tzadi, aleph, that's the verb. All right. Yatzah is to go out. And we have the tet at the end. This is an infinitive form, right? So when you so it's lamed plus that's the infinitive. So to go out, okay? Or of the going out. Of B'nai Yisrael, that's the children of Israel. So B'nai is actually the construct form. That's a fancy way of saying the form that means of the word banim, right? And the M, when it disappears, the mem sound, it means of. So B'nai is children of Yisrael, Israel. Oh, really? The glass bottles are expensive in the States? Yeah, it's funny. This is relatively cheap. It's carbonated water, I like. And I don't know if it's a liter or 2 liters. 1 liter, 1 liter. Summit sparkling drinking water, and it's like $1. So if you like carbonated water, pretty good. Carbonated water keeps me away from soda, so I like the burning sensation when you drink, right? So, all right. May eretz. May means from. So it's actually, remember the word min? That's the standalone form of from. Mem and noon, it's from, right? Min. And when we connect it to a word, we usually say meh, and then we put a dagesh, a dot in that first letter. The problem is Aleph doesn't take a dagesh, it rejects it. And so we come down here, we lengthen that initial I, so it was this vowel here, just I, meh, like that, and it lengthens it. So you can think of the dot like trying to go in and he bounces out. Now we've got two dots there. If that helps you. It's called compensatory lengthening. So it lengthens the I to A. So may eretz, may from Eretz, land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, from the land of Egypt. So B'chodesh HaShalishi, in the third month of the going out of the Bnei Israel from the land of Egypt. Okay, verse 2. By the way, thanks for posting the Hebrew Literacy chat group in there. Guys, you can see the admin, Pastor Bruce, one of our admins, he posted that's where we can chat about all this language stuff. If you have questions and you don't want to ask it in the channel and you want a faster answer, you can join us over there. Yeah. Bayom hazeh. So we had means in. Ah means the. Technically, and the dot in the next letter. That's the. And maybe I'll explain this. So people kind of wonder, why does ha mean the and why does the mean the? So before the Bible was written, in ancient Hebrew, I use ancient Hebrew to mean pre-biblical, there was a word for the, a standalone word. And that word was hal. Hal. Hey, lamed. Hal. Hal. Okay. But by the time we get to the Torah Hebrew, it's already gone into history. That word always liked to connect to a word. It didn't want to be separate by itself, right? Now, it has survived in Arabic. In Arabic, you might hear them say al, that means the, right? You can see hal became al, so it kind of survived, right? But in biblical Hebrew, it only likes to be joined to the word. And that lamed disappeared and becomes a dagesh in the first part of the word, okay? So that's why when we see this as language detectives, we see the bait, we know that means in, and then we see the and the dagesh from the hal that's gone, right? The lamed isn't there, and there's the It's kind of like the hay was a Canaanite house, and Israel came in, and we kept the house, but we kicked out the Canaanite. So, ba yom, in, the yom, day. Shalom, Dr. Dwayne. Hazeh, this one. So in this day, ba'u midbar Sinai. So beit aleph, is to come or to arrive, right? Ba'u, the u means they. So they arrived midbar, the wilderness or the desert of Sinai. Any comments or questions? All right, continuing. Verse 2. Vayis'u mirefidim vayavo'u midbar Sinai. Okay, so this verb is another tricky one. We got to be language detectives again. There's two letters from the root remaining, samech and ayin, but the first letter is gone. Okay, and in this case, it happens to be the letter noon. Verbs that start with noon, oftentimes the noon will go away. Sometimes it assimilates, sometimes it's just gone. So the verb is actually nasa. Don't confuse it with nasa, with an aleph. Nasa with an aleph and with a sin means to bear or to carry, right? Think of like NASA carrying something up. This is not that word. This one means to pull up tent stakes. And it developed to mean over time just to travel. So people aren't necessarily thinking about pulling up the stakes, they're just thinking of traveling, right? So for nomadic people, you can imagine why that would be the word that means travel. If you're used to the Siddur, when we take the Torah out of the ark, We say bin so Aaron vayomer Moshe kuma Adonai v'yafutzu evech. Anyway, stop for a single thing. So bin soa ha'aron, when the ark would nesoa, would travel, when it would travel. Okay. So the yod tells us it's a he, and the u at the end means it's plural, so it's they. Troy asks 3 different words for go or come. Why? Yeah, that's a good. Well, I mean, in English, depart, go, arrive, come. Um, I'm sure there's others that just, so I came up with 4 already in English, so that's why. Right? Languages just are that way. So, although ba usually is from the perspective of like the arriving, right? Where you're going to, right? So it's a little bit different than to go, right? Right? A little bit different because the perspective is on the point where you come to, right? But also in English, you have arrived at your destination, right? Your GPS might say you have arrived. Okay. It doesn't say you went, right? Hope that helps a little bit. It's a good question. Although sometimes Hebrew just has lots of words for the same thing. So like sheep, there's it's like you know uh, there's I think maybe 7 words for sheep. There's 5 words for lion, right? It's a scary thing. So you get all kinds of names for it. Right, to exit. Good. Thanks, Yvonne. To exit. Very good. To exit, right? And we can even say to go out, right? So yeah. Oh, I said to depart. Yeah. So it's just a lot of languages do that. They got a bunch of words for kind of you call that, even though there's different nuances, we call it a semantic domain. Those are all words in the same semantic domain, right? Okay. So this one is travel. Vayisa'u. So then they traveled. May, again, it tried to be meh with a dagesh in it, but the resh cannot accept a dagesh. You can't go like make 2 of them. So it comes down and we have lengthening. May from refidim. The place is refidim. Vayavo'u. So then again, bo is come or arrive. Yod means he. The u means plural. So they. Yavo'u means they will arrive. The vav changes the time. Vayavo'u. And they arrived. And we'll just have to say at in English. I'm not exactly sure why there's not a bait here. I would have expected Midbar Sinai, but okay. Midbar, the wilderness or the desert of Sinai. Sinai. Yep, to leave. Yvonne says, yeah, still coming up with, I bet we have 10 different variants in English. I know, by the way, I'm not picking on you at all. It was a good question, Troy. Um, that's actually, that's going to be the main difficulty with learning a second language. And I experienced this also with my second language is your brain is going to put up a fight, right? Because your brain is used to how things are done in English. And so this is going to happen for everybody if it's your second language, if you haven't learned another language before. And so, at least to fluency, right? So what it's going to do, it's going to say all kinds of things, not just what Troy's asking, but all of you are going to go through this. Why does it say it that way? Or even sometimes this used to happen to me. Man, that's dumb, or just like you just because your brain is used to it your way, and so it's going to criticize. So it's totally normal. And once you get through that, then you're so much more accepting. So the third, the fourth, the fifth, any other languages are going to be much easier because you've kind of taught your brain to not resist. Not resist the alien invading language. Vicky says, Rav, how come no trace or hint of the lost noon on Nasa? Thanks. Yeah, that's a good question. Noon is that way. Sometimes it's just gone, and sometimes it leaves its footprint. I wish I had a good answer for you. Yeah. If anybody knows or anybody finds out, let me know. Yeah. Yeah, I would have expected it in the Sabbath. I would have. Oh man, I'm tempted to check the Torah now, real quick. You tempted me. I gotta, because we've caught errors in the book before, but I don't think this is an error. But right, we've seen things and been like, wait, that's not right. Well, let me look real quick here in the Koran Pub Tanakh. I just want to make sure that it's correct the way it is in the comic book. 18 verse 2. Just double checking. Wait, what's going on? Oh, we're 19 verse 2. That's why. Yep. Okay. It's correct. Correct. Yeah. So I don't know. You got me. Sorry, I don't know what's not there. I have noticed that sometimes noon doesn't leave the trace like you'd expect it to. So, let's see. Bruce says, I'm having trouble with the spelling because some letters have the same sound. Yeah. So this is mostly a Sephardic Hebrew issue. So it's because we're learning the Sephardic or the so-called Spanish Jewish pronunciation. The reason we're doing that is because that's pretty close to what's done in Israel, right? And so even though we're not learning modern Hebrew, it makes sense, I think, to learn modern pronunciation if you're doing biblical. That way, when you go to the promised land, it's one less hurdle to get through to communicate with people, right? So the ayin and the aleph used to be pronounced differently, right? The vav and the beit were pronounced differently, right? Samach and sin, I've never been able to really understand the difference. The samach is usually pointed like an emphatic S, but I don't know what the difference is between an emphatic S and a normal S. And also, Tav and Tet used to be pronounced differently. So we've got several letters. It's not just you. It's not just you, Bruce. It's a problem with how Hebrew's been corrupted, right? So because Hebrew's been corrupted, and the modern pronunciation, also Ashkenaz Hebrew, most of those letters are corrupted as well, just not the Tav and the Tet. Um, so so we're doing it for the sake of Kalal Yisrael or Kol Yisrael, some would say, the sake of unity with Israel. That's why we're doing this pronunciation. But yeah, it's a little bit annoying. But we do it in English too. English is far worse. Maybe they'll make you feel better. So for example, the letter F makes the F sound in English, but so does GH sometimes. So does PH sometimes. So we've got three different ways to make an F sound in English, right? And there's other sounds that are like this too, right? Um, so English is actually far, far worse for reading, if it makes you feel any better, for foreigners to learn how to read. Yeah. I don't know if you find any comfort in that. The Schadenfreude that English is a pain to read. Okay. Vayavo, and they arrive by Midbar Sinai at the wilderness of Sinai. Vayachanu. So the verb is chet nun hey chana. When a verb ends in hey, the hey goes away. Exactly, Bruce. So chana is to camp. The yod tells it's he, the u says it's they. Yachanu means they are camping or they will be camping as an imperfect, and the vav changes to make it perfect, which usually is going to be past tense. Vayachanu, then they camped ba midbar. So here's the bait in, and then the ah, and technically the dagesh, the dot also. That's the footprint from the ancient hall, right? The hall was there. And then we moved in, we kicked out the Canaanite ha, and we left. This is the bait is for Bnei Israel, but he left his footprint, the house. Ah, in is b, ah is the midbar in the wilderness. Vayichan sham. Again, it's chana. Chet nun hey is the verb to camp. The yod is he, so Yichan is he is camping or he will camp. Vav changes the time. Vayichan, and he camped. Sham, there. Now, why does it say he? Here's the subject. Yisrael. Yisrael. Oh, look at that. Toda B'vakasha. Yamasi says some of the Bagad Kafat letters used to have a hey at the end of the letter. Right, right. That's true. They were pronounced differently. That's right. A dalet without a dagesh was a d, like a soft dh sound, and you had a soft gimel, also a g. Yep, and then the tav without a dagesh was a th, a th in ancient times. Yep. Okay. Neged, neged means across from, like or just in front of. Ha har. Ha is the, har is mountain. Mountain. Okay, 36 views and 18 likes. Please remember to click like if you don't mind. You do have to be logged in to like and to chat, right? So you have to log into YouTube. No big deal. If it's going to give you trouble following the lesson, please don't leave the lesson for that. Okay, next page. Show you the picture there. Okay, so here's Moshe leaning on a rock or on the side of the mountain, right? Okay, and we got a lot of stuff being said. Mm. Oi, sorry. Let me just need a counterbalance. Okay, let's okay, there you go. Onkelos will be our balance. All right, so I'm going to zoom in. You've seen the picture, so you can see the Hebrew a bit better. I don't think the picture adds that much to this that's going to be missed. There we go. Beautiful. Maybe I'll go over here. Vicky says, I thought Israel is feminine. Ah, you're thinking of the land. Eretz is feminine. Feminine. Yisrael is not. Yisrael's a guy, right? The guy's name. Yeah. So I think I got your thought process, Vicky. You're thinking about Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. The land, Eretz, is feminine. But the name by itself, Yisrael, is masculine. You see? A little bit tricky there. So you're actually thinking kind of advanced, right? You're remembering the land, right? But yeah, you kind of convoluted there with. Okay, well, let me know if that helped you. All right, verse 3. Umoshe Allah el ha-Elohim, Vaikra Eliv, Adonai, min ha lemor. Okay, U means and, so that's just the vav. Another way to say the vav used to be a wa, right? So you can say wa goes to u. Okay. By the way, thanks for all of you who gave the feedback on my little lesson about, proof that scholars all know that vav was a wa in ancient times, the consonantal form. So if you haven't checked it out, we have that over on the channel. You can ask about it. Why is this an u instead of a va? Anybody? Wondering if I should wait. I'll go ahead and say the answer, but I bet you'll say it before I do. Okay, because of the delay. Oh, I gotta. Okay. The mem is one of the letters in our mnemonic bump schwa, right? It's the m in bump. And the u in bump is this u here. So when you have the letters b, that's bait, m, mem, or pay. Or if you have a schwa under that, that's a colon looking thing, then the vav becomes a u. But it still does the function of vav. Okay? U Moshe and Moshe, or then Moshe. Yeah, Julie got it. Bump. Great. Okay, good, Vicky. Glad you got it. You're welcome. Allah is to go up. So he went up. We had this as one of our vocabulary words. He went up, right? He ascended. El unto Ha Elohim, the God. Yeah, very good. Bruce got the bump schwa. Excellent. Yanasi's pointing out same as city, which is also feminine. Right. Ir. Exactly. And Medina, but that's obviously feminine. Province. Okay. Vayikra. Kara is to call, right? To call or to summon. The yod means he. So yikra means he is calling or he will be calling. Usually, it can also mean he was calling, like for a long time. But anyway, imperfect. The vav changes the time, makes it the perfect, which is in this case like past. So vayikra, and he called El unto him. Alive is unto him. Who's the he? Adonai. So and Adonai. So look, the alive, these little prepositions that like to slip in before the subject. So here's verb, preposition, or the dative if you're used to like Greek and that kind of stuff, and then subject. Okay. Then Adonai called alive unto him. Min, here it is in its normal form. Yay! For once. From Ha, the Har, mountain. Lemor, that's an infinitive, meaning saying. Okay? So here's what Hashem is going to say. Ko tomar levet Yaakov. Ko. This is the enigmatic such or thus. Okay? Such tomar. So we know the verb amar. We just had to hear saying, right? Amar is to say. And when you see the tav jammed on the front of the word, that should remind you of ata. Okay? You will amar. You will say le to Veit Yaakov, the house of Jacob. V'taged livnei Yisrael. Taged. So this is from the verb nagad. Now this is one that's behaving, Vicky, right? So it's a pay noon verb. The verb is noon, and then we have gimel and dalet. Okay, and the noon has assimilated. See the dot in the daga in the gimel. I mean, like we'd expect. That's telling you, hey, there's a noon in here. And then this is actually a hefil form, a causative form, because there is a yod jammed before the dalet at the end. Okay, and of course the tav reminds us of ata, just like it did here. Tomar, taged, right? No others in close proximity. Okay, that reminds you of you. Ta from ata. So taged means you shall tell, right? But the vav changes the time, but not always. In this case, it seems it won't. Okay. The taged, and you shall tell, livnei, to the children of Yisrael, of Israel. Verse 4 is what's going to be told. Atem, so if you learn your pronouns, that's y'all. There's no better way to say it than y'all. It's you, plural. If you read a King James Bible, this is you. You used to mean plural, and ye was just one, right? So you all, reitem. Okay, the verb is a lamed hey verb. The hey went away. Resh, aleph, and then there's no hey, right? Ra'ah. So we've had this as one of our verbs, to see. And then the tem at the end reminds you of this tem from atem. See, atem. So this is the same tem. You all saw. So we don't really need this atem. If we're hyper literal, the text says, y'all saw. Y'all ra'ad, right? So this is what we call an emphatic pronoun. When you don't need it, but it's there anyway, it's giving us some kind of emphasis. So usually I find it works best to say like yourself, myself, etc. So you yourself saw. So you say you didn't hear it from your parents, your grandparents didn't tell you about it. You saw. Asher, what, or that which, asiti. The verb is alamed hey. Ayin, seen, hey, and the hey went away. Right? Asa is to do or to make. It's one of your words of the day, so you should know it. The E at the end reminds us of ani, or anochi, which we've had twice because those are two words. Asiti, I did. So atem ra'item asher asiti lemitzrayim. You yourselves have seen that which I did to Mitzrayim, Egypt. Va'esa. Here's where it gets beautiful. Esa, this is another lamed, pardon me, pay noon verb, meaning it starts with a noon. The verb is noon. The noon isn't here though. Seen, see the dagesh? That's where the noon is. Aleph. So nasa, we talk about the rocket carrying up something, right? So nasa is to carry. And then the aleph, when you put an aleph at the beginning of a verb, it reminds you of the aleph in ani, right? Ani or anochi, meaning I. So essa in ancient Hebrew would have been ensa, and over time it became essa. I will carry, but the vav changed the time. Va'esa. Now I'm going to translate this vav. How I carried etchem, you all, al, upon, kanfei nesharim. And this was one of our early words of the day because I thought it was interesting. Kanaf is a wing, right? So kanfei, it's from kanfayim, or pardon me, kanpayim, which means wings, and then we drop the mem, so it's wings of, right? So wings of nesharim, eagles, on eagles' wings. I saw how I carried etchem yol al upon kanfei nesharim, on kanfei of eagles, or wings of nesharim. Although some scholars, I'll mention it, think that the nesher is the desert vulture. But anyway, it's a pretty looking animal. Don't think about it maybe being a vulture, okay? It's got a big wingspan, right? It's so poetic. In fact, in Israel, in Jerusalem, we have a street called Kanfei Nesharim. Isn't that nice? I love some of the street names in Israel, so it reminds you of these biblical things. Like, and there was actually an operation, a secret operation, Kanfei Nesharim. I can't remember if it was rescuing the Ethiopian Jews or rescuing the Yemenite Jews. I get those mixed up sometimes. But anyway, rescuing some group of Jews secretly, sending C-130s into those countries, and the Jewish community in those countries kept it secret and quiet that Israel was coming to save them and to bring them back to the land. So nice. Excuse me. All right. Va'avi, the root is beit aleph, which means to come or to arrive. And the aleph in front reminds us of I. So va'avi. And avi means I will bring, va'avi means I brought. Okay, let me just get a drink of water real quick. Very nice, Tet. Recognizing that Nasa is the root of Yanasi's name. Exactly right. That's right. Very good. Now, this is a defective spelling because what it means is the we would have expected a yod here before the third letter, the aleph, and that's your indication of hefil binyan or the causative binyan, right? So ba is to come, and then causative is to cause to come, which means to bring, right? But the Masoretes, they still put the chirik in here to show us that little dot, so we still know it's to bring. So avi is I will bring, va-avi means and I brought, etchem, you all, elai, unto me. Very nice. All right. Verse 5. Any comments or questions? Betty says a griffin. Maybe. Maybe like a griffin. Hey, thanks for all the likes. Fantastic. Wow, we're 41 minutes. Okay, I think we'll finish this block, and that'll be a good chunk today since I duplicated the last verse from last time. Feel free to ask questions, guys. It's a big part of the study, and I think it helps a lot of people, not just you. Verse 5, ve'ata. Now, this one is ata, not ata. So it's not you. This is now, the word for now. Ve. So now, im, if, shamoa, tishma'u. So shema, we know shema is to hear, right? And this is that form I told you guys about. Technically, it's called the infinitive absolute, if you care about the grammatical terms, but you don't have to know that. All you need to know is when you have a pattern, when you have a verb you have a root, right? The three root letters, and then it repeats itself. And the second one is the one that's conjugated. The second one that you could look at it, and you could say, the t is you, right? And the u makes it plural, right? So you. Then it means indeed or definitely, right? So shamoa tishma'u means you will indeed hear or listen to. So the te reminds us of a ta, and the u makes it plural. So you all will indeed listen to. Be means in. Kol is voice or sound. And then the e, that means mine. So the voice of me. Bekoli. So literally, im ve'ata. So now, im, if, shamoa tishma'u. You will indeed listen in my voice is a Hebrew idiom. Shema plus bekol, or Shema plus lekol, it shows up both ways, means to obey. Okay? So don't say obey in my voice. You're like double translating that. So the right way to translate this is if you will indeed obey me. All of that. Shamoa tishma'u bekoli means you will indeed obey me. Ushamartem. Shamar is to safeguard or to keep, to hedge or to protect. The tem reminds us of this word, atem, you all. Remember the tem? So when you see tem at the end of a verb, that should trigger the memory for atem. So shamartem means y'all kept, right? You all protected. But the u, there's our vav, changing the time. And you will keep, et, we don't translate, beriti. Berit is covenant of of me. So my berit is what that's saying. If it said O at the end, burrito, besides being a tasty Hispanic food, also would mean his covenant. The burrito is his covenant. I mean, if that helps you remember that word. No, you're eating a burrito? You're eating his covenant? No! Start pulling out your hair. Don't eat his covenant. Maybe it's like it's wrapped with a contract or something. There's baked beans inside the contract paper. All right. If you take a second to imagine that and you didn't know this word, you'll remember the word then, okay? Vikyitem. It's kind of tricky. This is the verb haya, which is to be or to become. The tem, again, reminds you of atem. So y'all were, or y'all became. The vav changes the time. Then y'all will be li, mine, or will be, or will become mine, or for me, segullah. This is a great word. I think I gave like a 30-minute teaching on segullah one time. It's lost somewhere in Hebrew literacy. It's there somewhere. We went deep. So segullah can mean peculiar, right? Or it can mean treasured. Like a segullah we find in other cognate languages was something that a very rich person they have all kinds of wealth, right? But the segullah is the thing that's in the safe in the inner room, like maybe a special gem or something that they like to look at over and over and over again, right? Just because it's so beautiful. That's a segullah, right? It's the treasure of the treasure. Segullah can also mean, according to the Theological Dictionary of the Old Testament, which is wonderful 16-volume set of essays on different biblical. Sometimes you have a 24-page essay on one word talking about so it's really, really great for going deep, deep, deep in the Hebrew. But it talks about segullah as being an inheritance that is kept for a minor until they become of age. It's very interesting, right? So anyway, there's different ways to look at this. I'm not saying it's all of those things, but picking up the nuance can be kind of difficult. So you shall be that thing to me, mikol. So I think you can definitely agree that the common ground is treasured. Mikol, so it's min, and the noon went in the kaf. That's why there's a dot. So instead of min kol, he wrote mikol, from all the amim peoples. Troy says, your words were found, and I did eat them. Oh, nice. Reference to the prophets. Very good. Excellent. Ki for mine, is kol haaretz, all of the earth. And I know we're 46 minutes in. I'm very sorry, but I think it's just let's just do one more verse so we're finished with this text block here. Okay. I don't mean to keep you guys too long. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, Bruce has quote that helped him with Alma. Good. Yeah, it's a decent resource. Okay. Verse 6. It's funny when I look down at the book versus looking at it on the screen, I get a little disoriented. Where were we? Vatem tihuli, and y'all, you all, tihu, so it's the verb haya, to be or to become. The tav at the beginning reminds you of ata, you. The u at the end tells us it's plural. So y'all will be, or it could mean will become. Li, for me, mamlechet kohanim. Mamlechet is a dominion, or it can mean kingdom, of kohens, of priests. Yeah, Stephen says, Segullah, what a beautiful concept to be Adonai Segullah, Amen. And how humbling, and how it should drive us to really want to walk in his ways, right? To not veer to the left or to the right, but to say we will serve him, which actually means we will worship him. The concept of serving in Hebrew is the concept of worshiping, right? We will worship him. Which book, Yvonne? The one that I mentioned? The big series? Or the one that we're reading from? Just clarify. The one I mentioned as a reference is the Theological Dictionary of the Old Testament. It's a translation from the original German work, but it's um, you it's hard to get it in hard copy cheaply, right? I used to collect volume here, whenever I could find a used one, just kind of building it up, and I ended up selling them when I needed some money. But I think I got about halfway through. But it's also, but it is available in Bible software for a better price. Yeah, T dot. It's usually called T dot or T dot. Letter T, letter D, as in dog, O and T. Okay, T dot. Yeah, you can get that in Logos and in the one that came from Apple. I can't remember the other big buy. Oh, Accordance has it. Yeah, but a lot of times it's on sale. If you wanted some tips on when to get stuff on sale, let me know. It's not cheap. It's not cheap, and it doesn't have every word in the Bible. Just so you know. Okay. So a lot of times they'll group words from the same domain or with the same root, and they'll discuss them all. But really, really wonderful stuff. If you just like to read, about a set of words for a long time, go really deep. Well, excellent resource. Yeah, Bruce says quote is cheaper in only one volume. Yeah, yeah, it is for sure. Okay, then you all will become for me a dominion or a kingdom of priests, the goy kadosh, and a holy nation. Ele hadevarim. These are the words or the things asher which tedaber. So daber is to speak. The tav says you, reminds us of atah. You shall speak el unto bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel. And there we are. We are done with tonight's lesson. Good job, everybody. Next time we'll start on verse 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to conclude the lesson, but I can stay and chat for a little bit if anybody has questions. I don't want people to feel like they have to stop. They have to stay, okay? Shalom, shalom. Thank you for the likes. Really great. 46 views and 23 likes. Not bad, not bad. Because a lot of those views are just bounces. They came in and, Hebrew, and they left.